when we were coming in to do the whole workshop, I was interested in finding out how our students would respond to this notion of putting on a mask.
Not that I was skeptical heading in, but I was skeptical heading in in terms of how the benefits, I suppose, of mask work.
To be honest, when I first began, I didn't think mask work would have such an impact on me, but I was just amazed at just how it could affect you. It was unbelievable.
I felt liberated in putting on a mask in a way, because it immediately felt like you could do anything or be anything, as well as it being a very safe, creative space.
When we were doing a mask workshop, I had this moment afterwards where I didn't want to put the mask away, and I felt like we had this super strong relationship, and it was the strangest feeling, and I think that moment was just so special for me as an artist, because I had just this total new experience I could just put in my bag and take with me.
Pear's teaching method was very different to anything that I've had before. He would kind of tell us what we're going to do. He would give us the mask and he would say perform, and he would give us some of Chekhov's activities, and we would perform the exercise, and then only after we had completed it would he then tell us what it meant or why we did it. And that was good because it didn't convolute our minds with what had to be done.
I think for me, my favourite moment with the mask was definitely working with neutral masks.
I think everyone felt after that moment, after that workshop, is when we could really access Pear's work, and there was a strong faith in what he was saying because we felt the mask speaking to us.
Talking to people later, it was really quite fascinating to see that everyone had a really intense experience with it, but it was all so different.
I think that was the moment we realised the power behind the masks and what we were dealing with.
The mask allowed us to access and to experience that place in ourselves which we often don't go to and that we often block.
Yeah.
It was confronting for everyone.
The highlight for me of the workshop was there was a number of times where I saw students who I'd worked with over a couple of years completely transform and act with a lack of inhibition that I hadn't seen before or had only seen glimpses of. They're the moments that are burnt in my memory that were just unreal.
There were some great moments where students took the mask off and they were still in the improvisation, and seeing faces in expressions that I'd never seen on those actors before.
Like people had done really good work previously, truthful work, they started to develop dynamic work, like the mask uncovered aspects of themselves that emerged as these vibrant characters that I think that some of them probably didn't even realise they had inside themselves.
For me, the Balinese dance is a great way for the participants to think about form. The Balinese dance is so structured and so physically demanding that the opportunity for the participants to kind of, mould their bodies into this very specific shape and this very specific choreography, I think was a great counterbalance to the freedom and improvisation of the other work.
I thought it was probably the most beautiful thing I have ever experienced, and I'm not exaggerating. I appreciated the beauty, and I liked how it made me feel, and I just loved the performance. But once we started to learn it, I think we all really, really appreciated how much energy and focus and intricacy goes into that kind of movement.
I think actually having Balinese teachers where there was a language barrier teaching the dance meant that the actors had to pay particular attention to the shapes that they were seeing and try and replicate the shapes, and there was no possibility to just talk about it.
It was very demanding for our bodies to sort of change and alter to what they expected from us.
I have some really strong shoulder muscles now.
I couldn't quite make mine look like the lady did it, but you know, I think I got reasonably close, sort of.
The immersion that our students had during this workshop with the Balinese culture and the aspects of spirituality, mythology, and just how much they are integrated into everyday life of the Balinese people, I think that helped the students when they came to do the Balinese dance get a sense of not just the form, but the world behind the form while they were doing it. The devising process that Leah and I took with the students was ultimately about trying to help the students put the work in a different context and see its applicability to creating contemporary performance works.
Getting to throw in some Balinese dance and catch-up chanting, and then infusing that with our Western culture and infusing that with the Australian poetry and all that sort of stuff. But it all like blended together so neatly, and I think that's what surprised me was how you can take those things that seem really unrelated and they kind of mesh together so awesomely.
Even though this work was quite specific, it didn't just have one use. So it isn't just about, I can now do the Balinese dance or I can now do mask work. It was kind of really just an experiment to see what could be developed by putting some of those ideas in conjunction with some contemporary devising practices.
The catch-up dance was absolutely unreal. I think that must have been the best performance I've ever seen.
Even from the moment we arrived in the village, we got out of the cars, there's these little kids lining the streets with fire torches, and just this sense of it was a big event in the village.
When we were watching the fire dance, someone lit a coconut, I think it was, on fire and held it. And it landed like a couple of meters, and I think in that moment where this fireball was just like coming towards me, that was my favourite moment of the trip.
You can't look away from that show. It's so engaging that the performers are so physically present. That was a real highlight for me in terms of getting a sense of the value and the power of performance in the culture and really seeing it and experiencing it and watching everybody else experience that was really awesome.